All right, everyone. Hello. And yes, I thought we were going to be on YouTube, but we are here on Facebook. So here I am. I went to click on our streaming to YouTube, and they need a 24-hour, I guess, acceptance of my channel to do that. That I did not know. So here we are. Hey, everyone. I am Coach Tonya Wells, and I believe this might be showing up on my personal page. And one of the topics that you said that you really struggled with was letting go of mistakes. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And it's just going to be a time of sharing. I am uncertain if I'm going to be able to see comments or not. And to be honest, probably what I'll do, if they do pop up, is that I will take a look at them intentionally toward the end and answer any questions. So, in this topic of letting go, we're in a season of letting go, especially if you're on the East Coast or in the North. We're experiencing fall, and fall is kind of lingering. It is not letting go really quickly, at least in our area. So, we get to experience the beauty of it even more. But one of the things that I find very interesting is that there is a season, there is a time of letting go. And when we're talking about mistakes and we're holding on to mistakes that we've made, it's like we don't allow that season to run its course in our lives. And so I remember mom saying to me many, many times and over the years is when we live in the solution, the problem goes away. So we're going to identify a few characteristics today about what kind of problems we create. Yes, we. What kind of problems do we create for ourselves by either not knowing how to let go, by being afraid to let go, by being stubborn and not willing to let go? Could be all of the above, right? Let's look at a couple of the things that happen when we don't. First question I have, and you'll hear me ask questions, and I just, these are questions that I want you to ponder in your heart. And maybe if you're listening to this live or you're joining me on the replay, you will just take a moment and answer this question or these questions throughout. But what kind of fruit, what kind of results do we produce in our lives when we continually remember the mistakes that we make? When we're constantly living in our mistakes, what kind of fruit does that produce in our life? How do you see yourself with this? Do you believe that your mistakes are a reflection of who you are as a person, of who you are as a mother, as a wife, as a husband? Sometimes we get things so entangled and tied together that we haven't learned how to yet separate. So when we're focused on our mistakes, we see ourselves all enmeshed in that. Keeps us self-conscious, doesn't it? Keeps us focused on ourselves. Sometimes we might feel sorry for ourselves. Sometimes we might beat ourselves up. We have a lot of negative self-talk that contributes to this. And we also may have people in our sphere of influence or circle that remind us what we did wrong. So even when we try to let it go, it's like other people are reminding us of what we failed to do, either with their words or with their nonverbal, just their nonverbal presence, that continues to give voice to what you're already harboring in your heart. Is she going to make this same mistake again? Am I going to do this again? And it keeps us kind of stuck, doesn't it? I tell you what, too, something that happens quite frequently is when we're fixated on the mistakes of ourselves, we also have a tendency to look at the mistakes of others. Not all the time, but there's like two sets of people, I guess, to the extremes on this. One is all you see is your own mistakes, and you think everybody else does not either have mistakes or mistakes are not as bad as yours, or you see your mistakes where you're so ashamed of yours that all you can do is make sure you point out the mistakes of others. So this is the kind of fruit our lives produce when we are focused, and it keeps us stuck. Or it keeps us spinning our wheels in certain areas of our lives. What does it mean? What is a definition of making a mistake? Definition of making a mistake is to be in error. Simply put, to be in error. I was trying to think of a story that I could share with you that would be, I don't know, a good example of me harboring and holding on to mistakes. And the best way I can describe it to you, and maybe an example will come, but the best way I can describe it was a way of life for me. For many, many years, it was a way of life. And it was tied to my identity. I did not know how to separate what I did well and what I made mistakes in from who I was as a person. So I was on a roller coaster ride, but mainly down, because I was extremely, extremely hard on myself with this. And what did that produce in me? Well, it made me more afraid of making more mistakes. So it's best just not to venture out. Or you just put your feet out by the edge of the water and tiptoe in. And that can be a slow, slow process of doing so and moving forward. I think I kind of hit on this. I have another question for you. And the question is, when you make a mistake, how do you treat yourself? How do you talk to yourself? That self-talk. What you say to yourself out loud verbally, or what you're harboring in your heart. And is it working against you? Sometimes people say, well, I don't need anybody else to tell me how bad I screwed up. I do a good enough job myself. We're still talking about the problem here today, okay? We're talking about it. We're just really exposing it really, really good, because we're going to get into the solution. But I really want us to stop and pause and think about what unnecessary suffering we are creating within ourselves. If you remember and focus on your past mistakes, where are you? Where are you? You say, well, Tonya, I'm sitting in my living room. No, I'm at my desk. I'm watching you on my phone, whatever it may be. No. Where is your heart? If you are focused on your past mistakes, and I gave you a clue there. If you are focused on your past mistakes, where are you? You're living from your past. You're trying to be living today. You're trying to be in the present moment. I know you have a desire to move forward, or you wouldn't be here listening to our show today. You wouldn't be listening to this today. You have a desire to move forward, but focusing on our mistakes keeps us bound and tied to the past. And we just keep bringing it into the now, right? We keep bringing it into the future. And then where is our focus? Our focus is behind us. We're looking behind us. Sometimes we're aware of what we're focused on, and sometimes we're not. Sometimes we're just going about life, and we're living in a life that's full of distractions. And so even though our past may be influencing our now greater than what you might realize at the moment. You may not realize it because you're just keeping yourself distracted with other things. So I'm inviting you to pause for a moment and think about and realize and maybe even ask yourself, is my past really affecting how I am today? One of the analogies that I really like is when we're trying to live in the present, we have a desire to grow and we're moving forward, or at least we're trying to, but yet we really don't realize that when we're focusing on our past mistakes, it's like having the brake on, so you have your foot on the gas pedal, you're trying to move yourself forward, and at the same time you have the brake on because you are aware to some degree, or else it's playing in the background, of how many times you failed and you haven't been able to let that go. As we shift and pivot today, as we take a look at the importance of letting go and how to let go, it begins to take that brake off of the pedal. Do you find it difficult to forgive others? Again, sometimes we're on the extreme of this. Someone might be quick to forgive others, but have a very difficult time forgiving themselves. And then you have those that hold on to unforgiveness with others as well as holding it on to themselves. So I was just kind of curious as to where you fit in that. Both sides, both polarities really come back to that place of low self-worth, a feeling like we're not enough. I love this statement that I heard in my heart probably about a year and a half ago. I actually made a poster, and I'll share it with you guys sometime, but it said, the statement that I heard so impressed upon my heart was, Tonya, you have nothing to prove and everything to become. Nothing to prove and everything to become. And for me, that's everything to become in Christ. The most beautiful person, I believe, that ever was and ever is. So, Tonya, how does that play out in holding on to mistakes? It's hard to become new in different areas of our lives if we're holding on to our past mistakes. I hope I'm raising your awareness enough to see how we are really working against ourselves when we do this. I have another question. Let's say there's been a time and you have apologized to someone because you've made a mistake, you've been in error, you've been wrong, and you apologize, and they sincerely forgive you. Are you able to receive that? How are you in receiving forgiveness? Yes, I'm pausing. I really want your heart. I want these questions to land here. How good are you at receiving? I remember back in the 20s, when I was in my 20s, not the 20s. No, I wasn't back in the 20s, but when I was in my 20s, going on to 30, I think I shared with you, being hard on myself was a way of life. Mistakes was a way of life. Calling myself stupid and actually even physically hitting myself or hitting the wall or something like that anytime that I made a mistake. I mean, it was pretty intense, guys. It was really intense. And to go from that to where I am now, I was thinking, what was that pivotal shift? What was it? Of course, there were some things along the way. We all have heard many a times in many different formats, whether it be in counseling, whether it be in inspirational work, whether it be in biblical work, we've all heard about forgiveness. So forgiving ourselves is not a new topic, but why is it so difficult for us to do so? And even though I had a desire to grow, even though I was really desiring to even grow in the things of God, I had not received forgiveness for myself. Never really thought about it. I just thought there were more things that I needed to do, and I thought there were more things I needed to keep preoccupied with. And I never thought about receiving forgiveness for myself. It was like night and day. It truly was like night and day. And I know that there are going to be some on this watching today that, you know, your background may be different, your beliefs may be different. I'm going to respect, of course, I'm going to respect where you are, because surrendering, letting go, is it's a matter of the heart, and it's pretty fearful when we don't know what we're surrendering to. A lot of people will quote different philosophers, or they'll quote different thought leaders, or they'll quote different sages, and I cannot help but to think and also know and experience, to me, the forgiveness personified, and that is in Jesus Christ. He modeled what it was like to walk this earth as one who walked in forgiveness continually, and he received it, and he gave it, and then he gives us that invitation. So when I began to receive forgiveness, it began to create a space in my heart to realize, oh my goodness, me as a person, Tonya can learn to separate what she does from who she is. And that began to turn things around. That did not create instant perfection, but it freed my heart to begin to grow. And that was peaceful. That was peaceful. There are, I get into a little bit more of this in another training, and I'll mention that toward the end of at the end of our show today. But yeah, that was the start. It began to create that space that I am worthy, I have worth and value, and what I've done and the mistakes that I feel like I have made, first of all, I can let them go because they're a part of the past. And right here, I'm learning to move forward. And when I do let go, I'm actually able to move forward. So receiving. Can you receive forgiveness? It truly empowers you when we can say yes. It truly empowers us to be able to let go and forgive ourselves. I love how Jesus said, Peter was one of the disciples of Jesus, and he was like, I guess somebody was really rubbing him wrong, and he's like, well, how many times do I need to forgive? And Jesus said 70 times 7. And he wasn't giving a numerical number and then saying at the end, then you can start walking in unforgiveness. It was a figure of speech. It was an idiom that meant you just keep forgiving. What if we began to receive that for ourselves? What if we began? Yes, I'm going to repeat myself. What if we began to receive that for ourselves? Do you think your heart might expand a little bit? Do you think you might be able to actually breathe and grow and move forward in the things that you desire to move forward in your relationships, in your work, wherever unforgiveness is holding you back? It might even be with someone who is no longer here walking the earth with you. Someone that has passed on, that you're holding on to, still holding on to. I guess now I've shifted into unforgiveness towards them, but this could be something that you are continuing to remind yourself of mistakes you have made, thinking if you had done differently, things might not have worked out the way that they have. I'm inviting you to receive forgiveness first. It changes the trajectory. I'll get it out here in a minute. It changes the way that we focus. Because if we're focused on our mistakes, we're focused this way. Forgiveness and receiving it allows us to start looking forward and looking straight ahead. Do you believe there is a higher perspective than focusing on your mistakes? I hope by now there's at least an inkling, if not a wholehearted yes. A wholehearted yes. In letting go, we are taking the foot off the brake. And guys, it's not a. Some might challenge this statement, but it's not our words that says that we've shifted into forgiveness and that we've shifted into letting go of our mistakes. It's not our words. Well, I'm just going to forgive. I'm just going to forgive myself, and I'm going to move forward. And yes, I'm just doing it. I'm doing it. And we're listening to our words, trying to convince our heart. Slow things down for a moment and let it go in your heart. Let it go, whatever it may be. And I trust that some things are coming to mind as I'm sharing today. As we're connecting on this, I'm trusting that there are specific things coming to your mind right now that you know it's time to let go of. I'm inviting you to breathe, quiet down, and let go. If you're a Christ follower, even if you're not, but you're open to receive and understand what true forgiveness can be like, I invite you to see the beauty and the freedom of who He is and receive that forgiveness, because it's not only is it beautiful, it's powerful. It's very, very powerful. It positions us into a place where we can begin to actually grow. When we're focused on our mistakes, when we're focused on the past, it hinders our growth. It literally hinders our growth, but letting go allows us to move forward. Life becomes enjoyable it becomes quite a learning experience. Now, as I mentioned before, I went from extreme, um, just really hating myself, especially when I made a mistake, to now I can laugh at myself. I can laugh at mistakes that I make. I'm more conscientious of actually learning how to be different so that the mistakes are not as big. But even if they are, I don't have to beat myself up anymore. Why? Because my worth and value stays intact. And I see myself as growing. I see myself as one growing. Remember the statement, I have nothing to prove. Tonya, you have nothing to prove and everything to become. Everything to become. There's a clip that I want to share with you. It's a cartoon, yes, and some of you guys might remember it. It's from Meet the Robinsons, and it's one of my favorite clips. And it's a complete paradigm shift when it comes to how you approach mistakes and how you approach what you call failure. So let me see. Let me get this queued up for you here. This queued up. I did get this queued up. Okay. You guys ready? Here we go.
That should do it.
It's so exciting. Let her rip, Lewis.
Quickly, Uncle Joe can't hold on much longer.
Everybody ready?
Go, Carl. Oh no. No. I didn't know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
You failed!
And it was awesome. Exceptional.
Outstanding. I did better. From failing, you learn. From success, not so much.
If I gave up every time I failed, I never would have made the meatball cannon.
I never would have made my fireproof pants. Still working out the kinks.
Like my husband always says. I propose a toast to Lewis and his brilliant failure. May it lead to success in the future.
I just realized something. Because I had a mic on, I have no idea if you guys were able to hear that or not. Whoops, sorry about that. We don't want a commercial. Matter of fact, I don't want that. So let me go out of there. I'm learning this, guys. I'm learning. I'm part of the ECAM fam, as they say. And so we will see if the sound came through on that. But that was a clip from Meet the Robinsons. And I'm looking at the wrong space. All right. See, I can make mistakes. I can make mistakes, and it's okay. But Meet the Robinsons, yes, it's a really, really good clip. Actually, the whole video is good for adults as well. And if this is something you're really struggling with, it is a very, it's a good movie. And so Lewis, he's brought into this family and he's got all these inventions and ideas, and he didn't grow up in the positivity. He grew up in being hard on himself. And so he had made this peanut butter and jelly, I believe you saw some kind of a gun or something, and it backfired. And what did he do? He hung his head. He was thinking, oh my goodness, and was feeling really, really bad. And everyone else around him communicated something completely different. They communicated how great it was that he failed. And even one said, you didn't fail good enough. I think you could have done better. Meaning, I think you could have done better at failing. And so it was all toward saying, this is how we learn. And she said that, I think it was the mother that said, when you succeed, how do you learn from that? Excuse me, how do you learn from that? So it's growing, it's the falling down, it's the brushing off the knees and getting back up. It's forgiving yourself. And guys, until this really becomes a deep-seated core belief in you, that you are forgiven and that you can receive forgiveness and that you can walk daily in forgiving yourself, aligning yourself with the heart of Christ and forgiving yourself on a regular basis, the brake pedal is off. You begin to learn and grow. And that unnecessary pain and that unnecessary suffering begins to loosen its grip and fall away. Then life becomes truly enjoyable. It really does. And even if there are things that, excuse me, sorry if that was loud, even if there are things that have shown up as a result of us making mistakes that have lingered on and have consequences, you'll be amazed at how you are able to walk through those things, and even how things begin to unfold differently than maybe what you imagined, because you're waiting for the due penalty for your mistake. And when you let go, you have the grace and the strength to walk through those consequences, and then you also get some glimpses of how God can restore and redeem things that you never dreamed possible, all by letting go. If this is, let me think, before I say that, let me see if there was anything else that I wanted to share tonight or today. I think that's all I'm going to say about that. I do want to show you something else, though. So if this is something that you would like to dive in a little bit deeper, then I want to show you a couple of things that you can connect with. Sometimes we can get really, really angry with ourselves. And if you want to learn how to let go of anger that you have toward yourself, maybe anger that might have even bled into other relationships and different situations, come to CoachTonyaWells.com website, and you'll see right here. So here's the homepage. Right down here, you will see let me enlarge this for you guys. Sorry about that. You will see a free quiz that you can take. It's painless, I promise. And then I've created a couple little videos to give you some tools and some resources immediately that you can do to let go of anger. So click right there. Another thing, if you want even more in-depth training, you can come here to Higher Way Training Center. I have housed right here various videos, but this one right here, emotional weight loss. Emotional weight loss, we talk about the losing the weight of shame, which is what I was sharing with you about when we have our identity wrapped up in who we are and what we do. So shame, feeling bad about ourselves, unforgiveness. Unforgiveness is one of the trainings in this video. And then also losing the weight of anger. So I go into all those three topics. There are 3 coaching trainings, and I think you will find them helpful. So if you're looking for something a little more, I invite you to check that out. Well, guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. This is Higher Way Live with Coach Tonya Wells. And until next time, and check this out.